Alright guys, if I haven't swelled your brain already, we're going to swell it this time. This is about fly lines and how they're designed. In recent years, fly lines have become very, very sophisticated. And what I mean by that is that you can buy an 8-weight line in about 5 or more varieties from the same company now. Some have sinking tips and some have floating tips, and some are full, what we call full sinkers, that all the line sinks at once. But generally, here's how a fly line, let me see if I can get this right side up. This is even complicated for me, but we'll try it. Okay, this is generally how a line would look to you if you stretched it out and could see it all at once. So from right here, this is where it's attached to the reel. This is called the running line right here, the running line. This is the belly of it. The heaviest part of the fly line is right here. And then we get to the front tip section of the fly line, which it gets thin again right here. And then here's your loop for your connecting your fly line, fly leader. And this is a loop for connecting your backing to your reel. The backing's on the reel and that connects it right there. So loop to loop, there's loops right here and a loop right here. This is your belly section, and this is your running line, and this is your tip section right here, which lays out that fly for you. This is what we're casting. And this is what we're casting. We're not casting the fly, the weight of the fly at the end. We're casting this part of the fly line every time. This is what's getting casted because it has more weight than anything else. So, your fly lines are designed for many, many different purposes now. A saltwater line is heavier. Usually, sometimes they make them even a half weight heavy. Like an 8 is really an 8.5, just based on the actual weight. So you want to select the fly line based on when you're starting out, which is, I'm talking to my folks that are just starting out now. You just got a fly rod. It may have a fly line on it already if you bought a combo type thing. Those combo fly lines, that's the cheapest part of the combo you bought. It's the first thing that's going to drive you nuts and make you want to replace, because you can cast better with a better quality fly line. So Rio fly lines are really good. That's a brand that I like. Scientific Anglers, that's another one. So these are lines that you can buy, and you can upgrade immediately the quality of your fly fishing and your fly fishing casting with a better fly line. So they come in many different flavors. Saltwater lines are very, very heavy in the belly because they're intended to cast in the wind, and they're used on heavier rods. The rod needs to load, what we call load. When a rod loads, that means it's loading the line and shooting the line with the fly on the end of it. Whereas if you're using a 2-weight rod, like I showed you on another lesson, you're not shooting far, but you want it to land softly, so you don't use a big fat heavy fly line. You use something that's like a trout line that you want to go and just land softly, gently, and lay that fly out perfectly. When we're throwing big heavy stuff on the coast or throwing at big fish in freshwater, we're just wanting to get a big fly out there and let it and land it in the proper order, not behind the leader or anything like that, but land it and lay it out there, but lay it out fast and hard. It's a lot more finesse involved when you're trying to land a size 16 elk-haired caddis on a little ripple and not create all kinds of commotion. It needs to look like a bug has just actually fallen on the water, and with practice you can do that. With a right size leader you can do that, but especially you don't want to have some big fat bass line being thrown out into a pool full of beautiful baby trout. So that's how that works with lines. Match your line to your rod. If you bought a combo, please expect to go ahead and replace that fly line within a year with a better fly line. You'll do better, you'll be happier, and like I said, fly lines is where they cut costs, because they're expensive now. A good fly line will cost you anywhere from $60 to $120 depending on what you're doing. Let me just tell you that Chinese are knocking these lines off now. I don't think it'll be long until it gets super competitive. This fly line is not super scientific by any means, although they want you to think it is. There are, let me add two more variables before I go. One, sinking line is a line that sinks so you can get down to deeper fish with a fly rod. It doesn't sink like a rock. It sinks pretty slowly, and it'll have IPS. IPS is inches per second, how fast it sinks. A intermediate line might have a floating line, and then the end of it, only the end section, that front section, will be a sink tip. I'm gonna say intermediate. That's a sink tip, actually, not an intermediate. But anyway, an intermediate line, I'll tell you what, there's more than I even know. There is a sink tip where the tip is weighted and it sinks while the rest of the line floats. There is an intermediate that sinks, not a full sinker, but it sinks really slowly. And then there's the floating line, which stays on top. Now, when the floating line stays on top, that doesn't mean your fly stays on top unless you use the right kind of leader. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about leaders and what they do in another lesson soon. I've about done all I can do for now, but we will get back to you with a lesson on the leader, the fly. We still have casting, that's outdoors, stripping, probably outdoors, going to your reel, landing that fish you caught, and we got to talk about actually how to fight that fish. Going to your reel, fighting the fish, landing that fish, handling that fish in the proper way to be as, we want these fish to live so other people can catch them too. And then we'll wrap it all up. Thanks for watching, guys. Time for a break.